Special edition of It's Not Work, It's Fun. And we got to see what Bernie can tell us today. We're actually into April. Maybe the snow will stop. Maybe it'll get warm. Maybe the robins will come back. You never know. Let's find out what Bernie's got on her mind today.
Hi everybody, I'm Master Gardener Bernie D&A back with another edition of It's Not Work, It's Fun. We're going to talk about grass seed today. And I got several different things up here that we want to try to get to. But before we can do that, you know what we got to do. We'll be right back, so you stay tuned.
Well, from the gardening capital of the world, one more time comes It's Not Work, It's Fun, featuring Master Gardener Bernie D&A. And of course, the gardening capital of the world is actually downstairs at City Hall, Channel 98. I was almost going to say Channel 10. Channel 98 and 980 Digital. The older editions of the newsletter and the Critter Getter and other information are available by writing the address on the screen, care of Master Gardener Bernie D&A, and she'll get back to you. We have an email address. Send your questions in and Bernie will talk about them. We have Dennis's design service that features drafting, engineering, and blueprint services. And give them a call. They just might be able to help you out. That's enough out of me. Let's get back to the show and see what we're going to learn about grass.
We're back. Okay, now I have a kind of an unusual setup here. And as you look at this particular thing, some of you say that looks like a painter's palette. Well, it really isn't. We're going to talk about grass seed. Now, however, it's not grass seed like you would plant for your lawn, because the world's grass seed, the stuff that we eat, that we know as rice, is grass seed. It comes from many, many different kinds of grass. Not any of them which would really be growing as a lawn, as a prized lawn, like, say, a Kentucky bluegrass lawn, some kind of really nice sodded piece of lawn. That's, you know, grass seed is rice. That's what we eat. You always hear of these rice paddies that people are growing. Well, you know what? People grow rice paddies up in north central Wisconsin. There's rice paddies growing there, right alongside, sometimes right alongside the cranberry bogs. You will find rice paddies growing because they come from a marshy area. And I have to apologize because I'm growing all kinds of, I got just tons and tons of stuff growing at home. And I have grass plugs that I'm growing for myself, just that I'm going to put in my yard. And I forgot to grab them. I forgot to grab the real thing. The things that you see, except for these things right here, they're all fake. This is a fake right here. This is called fake calamustis grass. And I'll pick this one up again so that you can see what's going on. And that's actually known as a marsh grass. Now, there's many, many different types of marsh grass. There's many, many different types of grass seed that people harvest that we turn into rice. Grass seed is basically refined, and then it's rice. Okay, people have been eating rice for thousands and thousands of years. They learned how to get it from a real rough stage to an edible stage. There's brown rice, there's red rice, there's sweet rice, there's black rice, there's wild rice. And I have several of these things up here today. First of all, we're going to start from one end and we're going to go to the other then. These two particular piles right here, let's go to this one right here, see if we can get a little better shot of that. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. This is laying flat. Couldn't have anything tipped up because it just didn't work out, okay? So at any rate, these two piles right here are lentils, okay? They're not really grass seed. A lot of people think that lentils are, that they come from grass, okay? Right here right here, let's see, right here. This is an example of what you'd see growing in a marshy area, okay? This would just be marsh grass, okay? This is not the same as the big marsh grass. These grow in clumps, Let's see if we can get, there we go. Okay. Sometimes there'll be rougher forms or even more refined forms of marsh grass grown in your yard. And they're very, very durable. They're heat resistant. They're shade and sun resistant. And they look pretty good. It's not the best looking type of grass, but this is not something, this particular plant right here, and this is a fake one, this isn't real, sometimes makes pretty good rice out of this grass seed. I'm going to put that one down. But the one that we started out with is lentils. Okay, now lentils it's not really constituted as a rice. Okay, it actually grows from more of a bush, and it doesn't look like your typical bush. Actually, believe it or not, lentils are that's our lentils. These are called red lentils right here. They look orange, but they're actually red. Okay, that's a pretty good shot right there. And these are the green lentils right here. One is just a little bit bigger than the other, and they're very, very easy to grow. The only thing is that lentils have a very long growing season, okay? Much longer than you would think. Some of the shorter ones are 90 days. Some of the longer ones are 120 days. The problem is that some of the areas in the country do not have as long area of growing season as some of the other areas. Like, for instance, we don't have 180 days or 190 days, not like Brazil or Argentina. Those places do. California, 120 days, sometimes 140 days. And they start out growing things, they start planting things in the ground February 15th or Valentine's Day even, okay? And there's a lot of places that are down south of here, say Indiana, Illinois, even in Iowa, where they can start doing stuff March 15th or St. Patrick's Day, if you will, okay? These red lentils right here, okay? And you can find this stuff at just about any grocery store. It really doesn't matter where you go. You don't have to go to an Asian grocery store. You can basically just grow anywhere. These particular lentils that I bought from the grocery store were grown in Texas, okay? Well, down there they have longer growing seasons. If you start your own seeds, and it doesn't take long for lentils to really grow. It looks like a kind of a rough grass, but it's actually defined as kind of more of a bush. And as you can see, there's a lot of seeds that grow on one particular plant. This particular one right here, the red lentils, the seeds are a little bit smaller than these are regular lentils. And yes, you have to boil these things for a heck of a long time before you can actually put them into stuff. A lot of people make lentil soup. It's around Easter time, and people make lentil soup. Does the term Lent come from lentils? Probably not. I wouldn't think so. But at any rate, they're very easy to grow. It's just like soybeans are easy to grow. I used to grow soybeans here, and I always had to pre-start them. Well, it's a matter of time, and it's how much work do you want to do for yourself, and do you really want to do that much work? And most people say, no, I'd rather buy the started plants, or I'm not going to grow anything that's, so enduring, you might say, to grow. Tough to grow. It's not tough to grow, but it takes a lot of time. And you got to pre-start them, you got to get them out there, and you got to water them. And we actually had a pretty good. I grew them for soybeans for about three years, and we actually had pretty good harvest out of those. I didn't want to take the time though. After a while, it's got to be too time consuming. Okay, now we're gonna move on here. Now I have 3 grass seeds. Okay, this is called black rice, and some of these things were grown in California. These were from Texas. These are from California. I think this one was Florida. But anyway, again, this is all from grass. Now, the wild rice that you get, it basically can grow anywhere. It can be found grown in the ditches. People have learned to harvest it, okay? And to get it to the edible stage, it has to go through several things. You actually have to harvest the grass seed before it gets to the point where it's going to drop off because by the time it's ready to drop off, it's ready to germinate. Okay, that's a little, yeah, there's a time frame in there where it's got to get to a stage where it's full size, but it's not quite ready to germinate into another grass seed. Okay, not a grass, a rhizome. And this is black rice right here. Okay, now getting back to this fake plant right here. Maybe we can get a shot of this again. Okay, so at any way, a little more refined. It might, some of the grass seed, the black rice that you see, will actually grow on plants grass that looks like this, because a lot of people don't consider a grass a plant. Well, it takes millions of grass stems to make a lawn, and each one of them is a tiny, tiny little plant. And you say to yourself, well, geez, that just, Usually what happens is when people grow grass to be harvested, to made into rice, is you can't cut it. You can't have a neatly trimmed area. But what they do is they'll irrigate it, and they'll have like grass seed, like kind of like the rice paddies, where you see they're hills, and they're long, long hills, and then the water will be between in those hills, okay? And you'll see not necessarily really long strands of grass, okay? A rice paddy is a grass paddy, grass seed paddy. Anyway, you won't see really long strands of it, but that also has to do with the types of grass. There's lemongrass, there's switchgrass, there's sweetgrass, there's regular turf grass, there's ryegrass, there's just tons and tons and tons and tons of different kinds of grasses. And this particular one, now this is the one that you would see pretty much in the Asian food stores. And some of it they'll say it's Cantonese, okay, or they'll say it's Chinese, or they'll say it's just Hmong, or they'll say it's just Asian. It really doesn't matter. A lot of it, it's just a typical plant that grows, and it actually grows worldwide. It doesn't have to have a short or long growing season. Black rice and white rice, pretty much it's the same. This is refined, and this is the unrefined. Okay, now we're going to move on to this one right here. This is actually called sushi rice, and each kernel of rice is much, much thicker than the regular. Now, if I would hold up the grass seed that I brought in a couple episodes ago, it would look green. Wild rice, this is the stage, the black rice, this is the stage that green grass seed is in before it actually turns. It's not necessarily the same type of grass, because there are different ones. As I just said, there's tons and tons and tons of different kinds of grass from all over the world. Some of the grass, the zoysia grass or zerba grass, or some people call it zebra grass, not necessarily the same thing as zoysia, that grows in Florida may not be the same thing that grows over in California, okay? There's so many different types, they're almost too numerous to name. Okay, sushi rice. It's easy to get them mixed up because it was originally grass seed. Okay, sushi rice is a lot thicker. It takes a little bit longer to cook, but it's got a different flavor and a different texture to it than black rice. Black rice doesn't cook up the same way as white rice or red rice or brown rice. And the real reality is that you have to kind of experiment to know what you're doing, okay? Now, can you grow this stuff around here? Yes, you can. You might have to start some plugs, or you might say, well, can I just buy some of this stuff and see if it'll germinate? Yeah, you can try that. It might not germinate. Some of the refining processes go through heat, and it would kill the seed inside the grass seed, okay? The little tiny plant, the embryo inside the seed would die off. They don't necessarily die from cold, but if you heat it up, and in the refining process it gets heated up too much, then it will kill that little embryo in there. If you can find raw grass seed, and some people like to do that, now some people will really do that, they will refine it themselves. How do you do that? Well, there's different steps. There's boiling. There's some that boil it, but there's some that bakes it. it's different ways of doing it, and I'm not gonna. We won't have enough time to make it through this 1.5 hour episode, okay? So anyway, the black rice is actually, a lot of times black rice has the little husks left on the seed, whereas you get it a little more refined and go to white or sushi rice. Sushi rice is just a little thicker kernel than regular white rice. If you see a pile of white rice right next to this and it's not sushi rice, it's going to basically look the same except it's white. Now this grass, particularly this stuff right here, this brown rice, this brown rice right here is that is refined. Okay, the reason this is brown, and there's also yellow rice too, is because the process, the refining process can be different. It's not that hard to do because people do it all the time. It's been, a tradition that's been refined over the years, where there's certain steps, people learn the steps, and it's really pretty easy to do. But just imagine getting enough rice for one meal, and you have to go and pick it all first. Handling little tiny kernels of rice. How many do you have to handle? That's why they have machines do it, because you got to have, probably 100,000 pieces of rice just to have enough for one meal. I mean, that's an awful lot. These things are small, Anyway, getting back to this here. Now, since these were grown in California, this might have been from the very same company that they may have had harvested black rice in one area, and then they harvested the brown rice in another area. Brown rice can, however, come from a different type of seed too, okay? And some of the grass and some of the marshy areas don't necessarily have grass that produces edible rice. Now this particular one right here, this is called calamustis grass. A lot of people think that it's just called marsh grass. You see this growing everywhere in wet, marshy, soggy areas. Now, one of the things that had to happen for the cranberries, yes, the cranberries grow naturally in the boggy areas, but they probably had to remove the calamustis grass. This is a great big long huge piece here. This is actually not a real one. This is a fake one. I've had real calamustis grass in here. Problem is, if it's not fake and it's got like a varnish on it, it only lasts about 3 days. You have to pick it and bring it in and do something with it right away. This is fake. This is not actually real grass, but it's a good example, okay? And they did a pretty good job of making it look very, very real. This is what you see growing in the marsh areas. If you have a pond, you're going to see this, okay? Now, do these produce seed? Yes, they do, okay? They're very big seed. Well, they don't necessarily make the best edible rice either. And some of the grasses, in other words, some of the grasses that grow in the world, you don't always eat all of the grass seed. Some of the best grasses that grow in the world don't get very high. And some of the ones that produce the best tasting rice in the world, they don't get real tall. And they don't have 50,000 seeds on them. Some of them are real short. They only get about this tall. And what happens is that you got to bend over and pick a bunch of this stuff. So a lot of times people still pick it by hand. Boy, you got to have a big bag and you got to fill that up. That's backbreaking work. Okay? So anyway, this particular right here, the black and the brown, doesn't get this tall. They really, some of the best tasting ones only get about this tall right here. Sometimes there's pretty good ones. Let's see if we can stop cutting off the top of this one here. Okay, so anyway, some of them, they only grow this tall. And again, they usually grow not in dry areas, but in wet, marshy areas or boggy areas. They produce the best tasting. And they don't always look fine like this. Some of the grasses are thicker, okay? And then some of them, when they do get this tall, have a lot of seeds. And of course, they don't taste that bad, okay? So anyway, this would be you wouldn't necessarily find this grown on a baseball field, but you would find it, where people like to harvest rice. You would find it growing there. Okay, now the last one we have here. I guess I'm just going to wait for the music to come on. This one is a little bit different. This is called flax, all right? This is not a grass at all, but it's a seed that people eat. There's people that mix flax into everything that they eat. They put it in casseroles. They use it in stir fry. A lot of times you'll find flax bread, like the bread right here. Okay, now these are actually supposed to be poppy seeds. Well, we can pretend. This is fake bread too, by the way. Anyway, you'll find like bread sticks that have flax seed on top of it. People put flax seed in, they toast it, and they put it in their cereal. Okay? Now, flax actually does not grow from any kind of grass. It is not from the grass at all. It's actually a flower. And I do have flax growing at home. That's this one right here. Maybe we can get a good shot of this one. There we go. That's not too bad. At any rate, it grows from a flower, and the flowers can be white or they can kind of be blue. I don't think there's any crosses in between there, though. I'm not sure about that part. I just remember flax being blue. Some people there's a different variety. It's called toad flax. Those are flowers. Okay, and there's another type of flax that actually looks like it's spiky looking. It looks kind of like a grass. It's not really a grass though, okay? And these sometimes out in California, you will see just tons and tons and tons and tons of fields of flax growing. And the seeds are very edible. They should be either baked, toasted, or now some people boil them. It's up to your individual taste to do that. But people mix them in with everything. They put them in lentil soup. They put them on top of pizzas. They eat them with cereal. I even know people who will eat flaxseed with ice cream. Is that the best thing? Well, maybe for them it is, and I don't think I'd want to try it. I've had flaxseed before. And then there's flaxseed oil. These things they're real kind of waxy, and they get all ground up. And what happens is you add the oil into just all different, stir fry, casseroles. Even people will even add flaxseed oil when they're making cakes. And it's highly, highly, highly medicinal purposes. Flaxseed is extremely healthy for your heart. Believe it or not, it's actually, well, this part isn't proven. I don't know if this part is really true, but it's said that it helps thin the blood to a level where it's a safe level. So if you have, plaque building up in your arteries or your veins or whatever, it'll help to get rid of that. It'll help to thin the blood enough it can make it through, and actually help to get rid of it. Okay. Now, flaxseed. There's another, like I said, there's another one called iron flax too. Toad flax. Where the heck that came from, I don't know. TOAD, like a regular toad. It might be because really tiny, small toads, when they hop up to hide, they'll hop up into the spiky looking grass that has the flowers, and the flowers are very, very small. And some flax flowers actually don't look like spiky looking grass. They look like they're growing on wooden stems, and they have flowers on them. And anyway, it's just a real nice, healthy thing to eat, and they're real crunchy after they're toasted. They're real crunchy. They taste pretty good. They're not that bad. So anyway, we have flax here. This one I do believe was grown in Florida. The brown rice, the sushi rice, and the black rice were all from California, and the green lentils, because they're kind of green looking, and the red lentils that actually look more orange. They don't hold a red color. They actually are more red when they're first picked, but then they kind of lose it. It kind of fades, turns into orange. They were grown in Texas. And at any rate, that explains why we get into some of the things that we get into, some of the different foods, because rice is very, very healthy for you. It doesn't have many calories. It can be mixed with just anything, just tons of things. There's tons of rice in tons of different products. Like there's rice in cat food and dog food. I don't know if they feed rice to cows. That's the refined part after the grass is not grass anymore, because cows eat grass. And lentils are just filled with protein. Lentils are extremely high in protein. And they say some lentils are higher in protein than even red meat is. How that's, well, I don't know if that's exactly true, but it's probably pretty true. At any rate, these are very, very healthy foods. And a lot of times, you'll be eating these particular products right in things like this, okay, in the bread. And you'll, okay, I got it. Anyway, you'll eat this stuff whether you think you are or not. Rice is in our cereal. It's in all kinds of mixtures, the boxes of food that we buy, the ready things that we buy. There's rice in just everything. It's baby food, any kind of, lots of times they'll put rice in not only the boxes, the quick rice mixes, the quick, sometimes rice pasta, you'll be eating rice pasta and not know it. Sometimes pasta is not just made with wheat, it's half and half rice. And it's just all kinds of stuff that you get rice in. You eat a lot of rice, whether you think you do or not. You've probably had flaxseed before, whether you think you do or not. And I know that we're getting close to our time, so I'm just going to wait till the music comes on. And one of the things that I do want to remind people of is this is no longer channel 10. This is channel 98. I say 9810 just to avoid confusion. And channel 3 is 96.3. And I know that we're getting a whole bunch of new viewers each and every week because people tell me that all the time. And thanks for watching. And if you got a question, don't be afraid to actually ask me. If you recognize me out on the street, that happens all the time. Go ahead and ask, or you could write to the studio because we always have the studio address up here. And then you can email too. We have those addresses up there too. At any rate, I'm going to, well, maybe not. It's going to go on one more subject. Again, red lentils, green lentils, black rice, sushi rice, or white rice, as some people would say, brown rice, and flax. And those are basic food products that we get in just about everything that we buy. Anyway, I'm Master Gardener Bernie Duvernay. Until next time, be green and remember, it's not work, it's fun. You're having fun. Remember that. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. Bye. We'll see y'all next time.
All right, from the gardening capital of the world, we had nothing but fun today, learning all about those different kinds of grasses and stuff. I happen to like lentil beans. Sometimes my kids think I'm crazy when I try to sell them on the idea of having lentil burritos. Somehow they just don't go for it, but works for me. All right, from the gardening capital of the world came It's Not Work, It's Fun. Like Bernie said in closing of the show, you can always get information about the older newsletters and some of the information she put out in the past. It's still floating around here, so write that address and she'll get back to you. We've got the email address here at channel 98. And just send your favorite message and Bernie will get back to you. Dennis Design Service features drafting, engineering, and blueprint services. Ooh, look, there's a little parrot. I want a cracker. Polly wants a burrito. I want some of that grass, rice. All right. Something silly like that. All right, some of the technical people who work on the project with us are stated on the screen. We always need some kick people to make these kind of things happen. It's Not Work, It's Fun is the brainchild of Master Gardener Bernie Duvernay. And this has been a Blue Circle production. I gotta head on out of here, so see you later, alligator. Bye-bye.